assumptions, your affinities, and maybe even one or two articles of faith. Because the time for narrow interests and the time for delicacy has passed. This is an emergency. It's time for all the king's horses and all the king's men to get fucking busy. Please note, I am not inciting a revolution. I am outlining a devolution. Now, you might rightly wonder who the hell I am to prescribe anything. I'm not a political scientist. I'm not a sociologist, or a psychologist, neuroscientist, or philosopher. I do have one PhD, honorary, in exchange for dispensing 20 minutes of advice to a stadium full of college graduates who just wanted to get out of the sun and commence moving back in with their folks. But an honorary degree is like an auxiliary police badge. You don't have to go to the academy to earn it. Until very recently, I wasn't even much acquainted with the scholarly literature on the subjects I presume herewith to address. What I am is a serial eyewitness to and chronicler of developments in society, technology, politics, and media. In other words, a journalist, drawing my livelihood for decades from reporting, contextualizing, connecting dots, and a fair amount of just plain gawking. And it so happens that a pretty significant part of my beat in almost every permutation of my diverse journalistic career has been the search for identity, whether in the coverage of identity politics, of nationalism, social media, advertising, pop culture, or, for many years on the radio and in print, the quixotic tilts of ordinary Americans trying to achieve the pinnacle of Maslow's pyramid and to, quote, make something of themselves. It's an eclectic resume, burnished by the mere fact of having walked the planet since 1955 and observing my ass off along the way. I may not have tenure at a prestigious private university, but I can observe like nobody's business, and that is precisely what I propose to do here. The story starts with a little bit of political anthropology, how the relentless American quest for identity has atomized the nation of e pluribus unum at grave risk to its core values, social order, and democracy itself. Much of this is the consequence of well-intentioned multiculturalism, but fission in the nucleus of society triggered a dangerous chain reaction, and, physics being what it is, an equal and opposite reaction. Also known as backlash. That is to say that the politics of identity antagonized the right until finally being seized upon by the right. They've expropriated the raw power of victimhood, which has yielded creeping authoritarianism, nationalism, xenophobia, bizarre conspiracy theories, and incendiary presidential big lies. So while the sulfur of fascism fouls the air, across the ideological spectrum, our politics have devolved into blind rage. Not to put too fine a point on it, American society as a functioning democracy could be doomed. Which may even be an understatement because in Part 2 of this book, we'll contemplate a parallel phenomenon that exponentially exacerbates the crisis, rendering us very likely super double doomed. Namely, the effect of the digital revolution on the mass media and all that flows from not having a functioning fourth estate. Digital technology has given us smart fridges, Airbnb, artificial intelligence, Fortnite, and EasyPass, which is swell. These are the bounty of technological innovation, and who's to complain? Unless you're a toll booth operator who's been laid off. Digital revolution, like any other, has in some quarters left blood running in the gutters, most especially in the media sector. It's not just that a few arrogant and hidebound publishing and broadcasting incumbents have been pushed aside by savvy innovators steeped in the culture of code, foosball, and Series B funding rounds. Media have been disrupted like the Hindenburg was disrupted. A 3-century-old mass media model has been blown to smithereens, and the surviving journalistic fragments are not only too poor to adequately watchdog the government, but also algorithmically segregated from huge swaths of the electorate. Oh, the humanity. Finally, in Part 3 of the book, the Manifesto itself. Nano